so much. I really, really appreciate that. And by the way, I love the hat. It's my favorite thing right now. It's my favorite.
That's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I've been bragging about it to everybody when I wear
I love I love being able to knit for people. Our listeners will know that if you follow us on Twitter, I'm constantly giving away hand knit hats. It's just my favorite thing in the world to do. So
it. That's amazing. I learned how to knit when I was in the fourth grade, and I also love knitting, although I haven't done it in a while. But I also really enjoy it. So I totally get what you're saying.
all right, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Take care.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Kelly, and in this segment, I am here with Jolene Loetscher, who is running for Mayor of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Hello, Jolene.
Hey, Kelly.
And for our listeners, Jolene and I actually lived in the same dorm in college a few years ago.
Yeah, just a few.
Just a few.
A dorm we had our own radio station actually back then. I don't know if it still exists. I haven't been back there for a while.
I think they do still have the radio station, yeah.
So yeah, and I made some very questionable fashion choices probably back in that day. So hopefully, Kelly, we don't we'll leave that part of the past to the past and our college era.
I won't put any Flashback Friday pictures up or anything.
Perfect.
So, Jolene, I'm so excited to hear that you are running for mayor. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to run for mayor and a little bit about where you went from, between college and now? You have not the typical resume of someone you might expect to be running for office. So, I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, as you said, we went to college together, so we were at Northwestern, and at that stage in my life, I thought I was going to go on and be a journalist, and end goal would, of course, be CNN or NBC or doing something nationally, and realized that I love local news, and that was where my heart was. And my first job out of college was in Sioux Falls, which is about 2.5 hours from where I grew up. And once I got here, I realized this was where my heart was. This is home for me. And went on, worked as a TV reporter and anchor for about 5 years. It was time to kind of shift and do something different. So I went into media relations at a large regional healthcare system. While I was there, sort of started to get antsy about doing something different and starting my own business, and what would that look like. And this was in 2007, which of course was such a great year, right? To be starting a business. My husband and I took $100 in our savings account, which is one of the reasons we delayed getting married a few times, and an old bucket that had been thrown out by a donut shop, and decided that if you are going to make money in a recession, you have to do what people are not willing to do. And we went out and started picking up dog poop. And so we started a business called Do-Gooders. And in South Dakota, let me tell you, you want to learn about resiliency and persistence. Try kicking a frozen dog turd in 20 below wind chill. It definitely, nevertheless, she persisted. And that business went on to expand. Now we're in 6. And we additionally do dog DNA testing, of which we are one distributor in the world of that service. And so that became, for me, that first opportunity to see business work with an entrepreneur. We also have an advertising agency. And through all of this was also a moment for me personally that I confronted my past and child sexual abuse, which had happened when I was younger, and decided that I wanted to put to that pain. And I worked with the South Dakota legislature to remove the statute of limitations on criminal rape. And then 2 years after that, in 2014, South Dakota enacted Jolene's Law, which today works to end child abuse across the state of South Dakota. And we have done some amazing things, and we have a 10-year plan. So by 2026, we will eradicate child abuse in the state. And for me, that business opportunity to understand being an entrepreneur, and then also understand what it means to be a citizen advocate, and for ability to speak for the voices that don't always get heard or aren't able to speak up yet, was a pivotal moment when I combined those and said, okay, how do I serve? What do I do next? What does that look like? And started looking at public service. Back in the summer, I had my little girl in April and was rocking her. So I was a little bit in that sleep-deprived new mom mode, and I was rocking my daughter Liberty and had been weighing that public service question of how do I give, what do I do, and all those fears, too, that come in of, well, what if I lose, or what if people make fun of me, all of these what ifs, and I looked down at her, and I realized that if I didn't do this, if I didn't run for mayor, what I had done was told my daughter it was okay to let your fears control you. And that if she ever came to me and said, Mom, I didn't do this because I was scared, I had failed her as a mother. And that as parents, we make such a difference in our child's life by role modeling what we do. And I said, we got to do this. And I love this city, and I love that's where she's going to grow up. And that's how I ended up running for mayor of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
I love that. We've been talking a lot on the podcast and with our listeners about how do we introduce children to politics, and how do we start getting them politically engaged and active and thinking about the world around them. And this idea that they can see their parents as their role models in political service at various levels, I think is really tremendous and powerful.
We've said this is for us a family campaign. It was a family decision. It's a family campaign. So she goes with me to legislative coffees, comes with to door knocks. She does all of those things so that she also understands that while Mom is giving back and Mom will be mayor, these are the things about her city and the stories that she needs to hear, so that hopefully her service to this city is inspired in that too, no matter what that looks like for her.
Yeah, I think we hear a lot that women are concerned about running for office when their kids are still very young, that it will take time away from them. So I think that that's valuable to hear, that you can include your kids in your campaigning, and presumably if you win, include your daughter in coming to the office and seeing her mom as mayor, and being involved in functions around the city.
And it's for me as a mom, wanting my child to have the absolute best that she can have. I think any of us as moms and as parents, we want our children to have the best, and we would do anything for them. I remember my mom saying, I would do absolutely anything for you to succeed in life. And this, running for office, being mayor, is my anything for my daughter, to give her that city and that opportunity for her to succeed.
And so, can you tell us a little bit about Sioux Falls? I've only been to South Dakota once, and it was on the other side of the state, so it's not a place that I know very well. And I was really surprised when I looked it up on Wikipedia to see that, in fact, it's much bigger than I assumed it would be. So, can you tell us a little bit about what Sioux Falls is like and what the people there are concerned with?
We are the absolute best city to live in the world, I will say that. And so we are on the southeastern part of South Dakota. So most folks will say, oh, we're going to Mount Rushmore or Crazy Horse or the Black Hills. That's on the western side. We are on the eastern side, kind of the southeastern part of the state. We have a population, the city itself, of 180,200 people, and then our surrounding metro is right about 250,000. And this is a city of people that are hardworking and love family and community, but we're also changing in our diversity. And about 20 years ago, if you looked at the statistics for Sioux Falls, about 8% of Sioux Falls was not white. Today, that number is 20%. Growing diversity, and one of the things we're excited about is embracing that diversity and what it means. From an economic standpoint, Sioux Falls has had seasons of industry, as we like to call it. We have had meat packing. Banking has been a very big industry for us, which started in the 80s. Healthcare now, two of the regional healthcare systems in the Midwest base out of Sioux Falls. And as we look at our administration and growing Sioux Falls into the future, will be what is that next industry as well to carry us. And we're very fortunate. We have a lot of biotechnology and companies that are starting to see Sioux Falls as the Silicon Valley of the prairie. And how can we invest in that and make the most of that? We also have some really unique college programs that work with cybersecurity that nobody else has in the country. So how do we bring those industries to us here?
Tell us a little bit about the mayoral race. It looked to me that there's not a primary, that there's an election and then potentially a runoff. Is that correct?
That is right. So we have 8 declared candidates initially. That's now down to 7. So there are 7 candidates. Via Sioux Falls, you have to have 50% plus 1 to win. So with 7 candidates, presumably the election on April 10th, no one will get 50% plus 1. So then there will be a runoff on May 1st.
Okay. And the current mayor, the incumbent, is not running.
He is not. No, the current mayor then is term limited after 8 years.
And so that's a lot of people running for the office. What do you think distinguishes you that you want people to think about for, why they should choose you out of this very crowded field?
Well, it is, and I'm excited. I think it's great. When people on the political process and put themselves out there in the ballot is terrific. But we know what makes us stand out is that we have a plan for progress and a vision for the future that is unique, and it is focused on growing the city in the next 4 years, but then also over the next 10 or 20 or 30 years. We know that my experience as an entrepreneur, a successful job creator, and as a citizen advocate is unique to anyone else. And we know that cities change, and we are at a changing point in Sioux Falls. We're going from being a small town to a big city. And maybe not as big as Chicago, but we are still, for us, a big city, and that takes someone with big thinking, and that's exactly what I've got and what we're going to bring.
That's excellent. And is there anything else you think people might be surprised to hear about either you or about South Dakota or Sioux Falls?
If you come to Sioux Falls, we have a Mr. Bendo statue, which, if you haven't, is essentially a very large mechanic man. I believe it's like 15 to 20 feet tall, and he's holding an axle rod or something like that. It's very famous around here. So if you come, you need to get a picture there. But I would encourage people that if they're thinking about moving or starting somewhere new, to look at Sioux Falls. This is an amazing city where our cost of living is very reasonable. We have low unemployment. There are a lot of jobs here, and it's a place where you can find opportunities for you and your family to succeed. We have called this the city of opportunity, and that's so true. And so for anyone that's listening, check out Sioux Falls. Come visit us, live here. We would love to see you.
We might have to take the kids on a vacation. They've never been.
I think you should.
They've never been west of Chicago, really. So it may be time that they need to check out some other parts of the U.S.
Well, and if they come this way, we'll give them a tour of City Hall, too.
Very nice. Yes, they would definitely love that. My kids are very invested in politics for obvious reasons. Can you tell us what's the most challenging thing that you've faced trying to run for office while having such a young daughter?
It isn't for me, the time with her. I think all working parents know that you juggle priorities and all of that. I think it's changing the perception that we as women can run for office and have young children and make them part of that has been probably part of that challenge. But knowing that we have working moms and working dads all across the city of Sioux Falls that are juggling parenting at the same time. And so running for office is the same thing. That's out there thinking, I might run for office, or do I do it now? When do I do it? Jump in there. Do it. Make your kids part of the campaign, because they're part of your life. And for so many of us, that is the reason that you're doing this. And when we go out on the campaign trail and we meet people and we see things where I hear stories that tug at my heart, there's something about having my daughter right there that puts all of that into perspective, and it also helps motivate me.
Well, that's excellent. We will put links up on our website to your website and your Facebook page and your Twitter page so people can learn a little bit more. And maybe we'll send you some more residents, people who are looking to find a new place to live. You've painted a beautiful picture of Sioux Falls, so.
It is beautiful. Just know you wear a few extra layers, you'll be fine.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks, Kelly.
Welcome back, everybody. In this segment, I'm going to be talking to Erin Zwiener, who is running for House District 45 in Texas. Hello, Erin.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on. And of course, we just had a big episode about Texas, so our listeners are super excited about Texas.